Okay, let's make a start on this podcast. So for the podcast tonight, of course, I'm Rich. With us tonight, we got Sophie.
Hey.
We got Ash.
Oh, yeah.
And we got John.
Evening.
Fresh from the toilet.
Oh, yes.
Right, okay. So first of all then, we said we were going to talk about Gambit tonight. The thing was originally the rumour about Channing Tatum wanting to leave the project to join Shazam. However, personally for me, I think the issue is there that it's not actually about a case of whether he wants to be in the project or not. It's more of a case of, do we even want him in the project? Now, personally, I don't see Channing Tatum being good in the role. Quite liked, was it Tyler Kitsch? The guy who played Gambit in X-Men Origins?
Yeah.
The film that shouldn't be spoke about.
No, but he played the character well.
As well as the script allowed him.
Yeah, but it's on appearances as well, though, and how he looked.
I thought he looked spot
How he
on.
sounded. He did. Channing Tatum was far
good.
too big to be a Gambit.
I don't think Channing Tatum's a superhero role anyway, to be fair. I don't think no matter what one you give him, it wouldn't actually work with him. I mean, it's difficult with Channing Tatum because, I mean, he's an actor that's come from a dance background, and all I see when I see him is he should be sort of beatboxing somewhere. I'm not a very big fan of his work, you know what I mean? So
should stick to his check flex.
Yeah.
Stick to his poles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, a couple of other films I have seen him in, he's done well in them. I just don't see him in a superhero role in whatsoever. I just don't think it'd suit him as an actor. And
Every time I see Channing Tatum's face, I just hear, "My name is Jeff."
Yeah.
I just can't see him playing Gambit or just running in and, "My name is Jeff."
Plus, how's he going to put the French accent on as well? That's the thing. I mean, that's the one thing about Gambit that always gets everybody is the French accent that he's got. So it's like, it's going to be a really bad sort of American French, especially coming from Channing. I don't know too much about Shazam, see. So, I mean, I've done research. It still hasn't really stuck in my mind about it, so I can't really sort of comment about Shazam. So
I think a big issue with the Shazam project would be that Shazam's main villain will be Black Adam, who's being played by The Rock. And I feel like any actor that you put up against The Rock, they're going to have to be pretty big themselves. For example, you put Channing Tatum, he might look pretty big when he's in 21 Jump Street or something like that. But when you put him up against The Rock, he's going to look little small man syndrome.
I think he'd be more suited to Shazam, though, than he would to Gambit.
Only on the basis of appearance, though, and muscles.
His face doesn't fit. I really don't think it does.
In fairness, do we need a Gambit film? Full stop.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gambit is one of the best X-Men.
Yeah, I've got to agree with John there. Definitely one of the best. I was really, really excited about Gambit until somebody said like Channing Tatum, and I was like,
Playing devil's advocate here, is it not surely Gambit a character that can work better as part of the X-Men working off with the other characters rather than being his own film? Is there enough of a backstory for him? Is there enough interest, enough villains?
Well, yeah, I mean, he could do his origin story, couldn't you? And how he became, and, you know...
He's a gambler, isn't he, by nature? He's always been a gambler.
I don't think Wolverine was that bad, to be honest. It could have been a lot worse.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think if you watch that opening half hour, it's up there with pretty much anything. When it shows them going through all the different wars, it shows them going through...
Timeline.
Yeah,
Vietnam,
I enjoyed
and everything.
that bit.
That's one of the greatest moments I've ever seen in an X-Men movie. And then it just fell so flat. And there were so many characters. They got the casting right. Like Ryan Reynolds, obviously perfect for Deadpool. And they sewed his mouth shut.
Yeah,
and then
they put the mouth and he's got no mouth.
Yeah, and he's got strange swords that come out of his arms. I think my thoughts are at the moment is that if we did have a Gambit project, so to speak, I think it should just be a TV series maybe. You know, instead of actually having him have maybe a major role as a film, it should be maybe like Luke Cage, have a TV series.
Look how successful Daredevil was.
Well, yeah, exactly. No one thought it was going to be because they always sort of like said about the fact with Daredevil that it should just be a major film, and they were just looking at saying, well, all you're going to be doing is just revamping the film, and it's not. It's taking a whole new league. That's gone massive. I think that's my thought. I think if they're going to do anything with Gambit, I think it should be a case of it should be a TV series. Then it's either hit and miss. Then if it does go well, at least they've not lost anything. But if it goes badly, they still haven't lost because they can still put Gambit in one of the X-Men films if they carry on the franchise.
Well, the latest updates with regards to the Gambit film, anyway, of course, it was supposed to have been slated for an October 2016 release, with Tatum trying to drop out, I think they've lost 3 or 4 different directors already. The latest update is that they're planning on starting filming next year. I worry a little bit with Fox's general direction. You look at their year, you look at the fact that obviously they started it so strongly with Deadpool, and then
there's a lot to live up to, but then there isn't, because
there was a
like
lot
it's
of
an
comic
18.
book non-fans that really appreciate Deadpool and the way it's being filmed and being portrayed. There's a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily watch an X-Men film, but they watch Deadpool.
Yes, that was the other thing as well. I mean, like, you're saying about Deadpool and that, and the casting was right for me on that massively. I mean, it really was. I mean, even Colossus that came in, you know what I mean? That just pleased me so much, the original Colossus they gave us in X-Men, to actually have that guy come in as well. And it was just like, you've got it down now. Don't spoil it.
Like, when you consider Deadpool, it's cost, 58 million, I've got written down here as far as the production budget. Made 783. Puts it up there if you compare all of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all of the Fox universe. It puts it there, sat in 5th place of all. The highest one that Fox did as far as on pure profit.
Yeah.
But then they followed that up, of course, with X-Men Apocalypse, which made less than half of that of Deadpool on pure
Can't really
profit.
comment much because I've only seen like the first 5 minutes of X-Men Apocalypse.
We all have. Well, you and Rich have.
We haven't got around to watching.
No, I've personally sat down and watched the whole thing all the way through.
What are your thoughts on it then?
Very disappointing, to be honest with you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've had to have conversations with numerous friends of mine to try and get my head out of one particular part in the film, which really annoyed me a lot. I mean, to a point where I actually nearly turned it off, but I thought, no, give it the benefit of the doubt and carry on. Basically, it's a case of, I think you have to take your mind out of it and look at it as a different timeline, because of the obviously, previous films. They've changed the timeline, haven't they? A couple of times. Where they go back and try. No. I mean, I can't really go into it with that. If you guys haven't seen it, I can't really go into it too much, because obviously it's going to spoil it for you guys. But my personal opinion was I found it very disappointing, but it was only because of one particular thing that really annoyed me. It was difficult trying to get my head out of the original way of the things that happened, so to speak. It was really hard for me to do, and I just couldn't do it. And even though I will probably sit down and watch it again, because I'm one of them that I tend to miss things, and then it probably doesn't make sense. But I would say watch it, because then you get your own opinion on it.
Yeah, it's one of them that definitely will watch. It's just that time getting around to doing it.
Yeah, that was what I found difficult, is finding the time to get around to watching the different films and things. But
one of them that was really, really looking forward to, and then you start getting the critics' comments that are coming out like it's not that strong a film and it's quite negative. It does put you off watching it, and then that's why I haven't been that excited to say one night, I'll sit down and watch it tonight.
See, I was like that. I was like that with Man of Steel. Quite a few people criticised it, and it made me sort of not want to see it. I sat down, and although I was okay with it, I suppose, it still didn't grab me.
You go into it with like a negative head, though, don't you? Thinking,
exactly.
Everybody else has said it's crap, so it's going to be crappy.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some really good bits in there. There's some not really good references to other stuff that's going on. You know what I mean? But it was it was just my thing of where a certain person turns up in the film itself, and it was just like, dude, no, you know what I mean? And that just really annoyed me from that moment onwards. It really did. But then, like I said to you earlier, it was a case of a few friends of mine are sort of like, look, you got to take your head out of that. They've had a time loop somewhere. Time that is now happening hasn't. It's been changed, so it's going to appear different. So that's what you got to see it as. And
I suppose you could look at it that way, in the sense of Days of Future Past changed the entire timeline.
Yeah,
because it eradicated all the previous X-Men films, didn't it, to make its own.
I think that's why I was so excited about this one.
Well, Days of Future Past was an amazing film, though.
Oh yeah, loved it. Really.
It was. I really enjoyed that one.
There was a lot of hype, and it was a really good film. Even the First Class. First Class was a fantastic film.
Didn't make a great profit though. First Class didn't.
No. But I liked it because it took you back to making the X-Men.
Yeah.
And the bond, the friendship between Eric and Charles, and obviously how they separated and how they created their own opinions of man. You can see how the original X-Men with their relationship, how that happened in First Class.
So
yeah, I mean, in Apocalypse, there is massive references to the first few films. I mean, there really is, and it all kind of ties in together, which is really good. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed that part. It was just that one thing that spoiled it for me, and then I couldn't get my head out of it then.
just going back to John's point as far as it shows the team getting together. So effectively what you're saying there is that for once Fox actually, took what the X-Men is, a team of mutants, and made a film about a team of mutants. And then very quickly after, as much as I am a fan of Days of Future Past, they then decided, you know what, this team of mutants is missing? Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, well,
I feel like we need an Australian, 6'4", is he? 6'5" Australian, playing a 5'2" Canadian.
See, now I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman, I don't think you'll find a better Wolverine.
No.
They want to now bring in a younger Wolverine, don't they?
Well, that's what the next rumor is. It's the next rumor, isn't it? Logan.
They're going to use Old Man Logan to kill Hugh Jackman off as Wolverine, which I think is a nice way of saying thanks. They're letting him do it.
See you later.
But they want to bring in another one. But I don't see how they're going to do it.
I just feel like they should let it lie. You look at their films and Days of Future Past, although the story, of course, from the comics and even from the animated series is completely different. They forced Wolverine into the story a lot more than he ever was, as it should have been. But it worked because the story's more about everyone else.
Well, they based the X-Men film around Wolverine.
Yeah. Because the original appearance of Wolverine was against the Hulk anyway, wasn't it? You know what I mean? It was one of the first appearances of him, and it's like they've totally missed that kind of storyline. Unless they've got plans of actually bringing that in, which I can't see how they're going to do it. I mean, I don't know if they're going to try and bring the franchise of X-Men up with alongside, I don't want to put it down, but alongside the Avengers. I can't see how they would actually bring that in because that's one of the things that was missing from the actual, the Wolverine story. He's I mean, they tried to touch on his origins of how they actually, how he came about and that, but they've missed like the massive points in his life.
Storylines.
Yeah, they've missed massive storylines, and it's like I say, Hulk was one of the best comics. Hulk and Wolverine was one of the best ones I read. And I think that should have been maybe put into the series somewhere.
I just worry that when they eventually make this Wolverine, they're going to kill him off, maybe leave him out for one film, maybe do like a First Class 2 effectively, which would be more about the rest of the X-Men. Just when you look at Fox, you're looking at these CEOs, probably never read a comic book, and they're going to be thinking, this sells well. We sell a lot of Wolverine toys. Yeah. We sell a lot of Wolverine cartoons.
Well, he's the most well-known character, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He is.
I mean, the first character you ever think of, X-Men, you always think Wolverine.
I think you'll actually find that the first character I ever think of is Toad.
Oh, he's actually
I thought you were going to say Jean Grey then. I was like, come on, what's he going to say?
Well, no, see, I would turn around and say Professor X myself.
No, see, I always
he's not part of the X-Men, though, is he? He
what do you mean he's not part of the X-Men? He is the X-Men. Without Professor X, what have you got? A load of random mutants running around.
Yeah, but he made the team. That's what I'm saying.
That's what the X stands for.
Yeah, it's Xavier's men.
Thanks for clarifying that, John. I never understood that. I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was Professor. Who's the Professor for? For the X-Men, Professor Men, Professor X. Anyway, personally, I think that's enough time for Fox, eh?
Yeah, well...
It's just worrying as to where they're going to go.
They either need to leave it alone for a little while and then not revamp it, but leave it alone for a little while. Let the actors that they've got kind of mature a bit and then go again once they've got a bit more information that they can use as, main storyline. And I think that's the only way they're going to have to go. I mean, they're trying to rush the X-Men through too quick. And that's my personal feeling. I mean, we've gone from them being old farts to, back to young again. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. I think they just need to let the actors mature a bit more.
Stop trying to stick big names in to get people to watch it.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Halle Berry was fantastic as Storm.
So memorable.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, in the new ones, Jennifer Lawrence. I personally can't stand Jennifer Lawrence.
It's almost another Stallone playing Judge Dredd. It's another fact of she signed on to play a blue shape-shifting woman. And
She's a human.
Sure that it's in her contract that you see her face is normal skin coloured. No,
that's what I mean. I understand in First Class she tries to blend in to be human because obviously the mutant thing is a whole new. But
she's a murderer now for a start.
Well, she should eventually, like in the comics and the cartoons, she's always blue. Unless she's shape-shifting for a reason, you've never actually seen a Mystique in a human form that she's made her own, if that makes sense.
They did that in the first film, didn't they? You don't ever see her apart from her, but she was shape-shifting. Now, if you did see her, she was blue.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not Mystique. They should do it like with all the other ones, the other characters. The actors weren't well known. You didn't know who they were, but they made it work. And that's what I liked.
Well, using that as a segue from unknown actors, I think we can all agree that it works quite well. Marvel have started doing it these days, of course. Earlier on, they started with, like, in the Hulk film, they had Edward Norton, bringing on people like Samuel L. Jackson and Robert Downey Jr., all these known names. They've started getting a little bit more obscure, so I think we can agree. So using that same idea, you look at Suicide Squad. They've got Will Smith.
Again, it's just a name for a film.
I'm so dubious about Will Smith being in this film. I really am.
I am as well. I'm just like Will Smith.
He's always the good guy, and he's playing Deadshot. Come on. I don't know how he's going to do it.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's just Will Smith.
I don't want it to become a hero film because they're not heroes.
No, they're not.
I don't know a lot about the Suicide Squad apart from obviously Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and the Joker, and they're the only ones really I kind of know, sort of,
Basically, a team of villains that are expendable.
Did they not start knocking that in Arrow?
Yes.
They touched on it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, they had a minute. It was because of this film that the CW were forced to either kill off or remove the characters. When they initially introduced the Suicide Squad in season 1, there was a silhouette of Harley Quinn, and you heard her voice. And it was, I believe, it was the same person who did the voice for the animated series.
Okay.
Very quickly, DC said, "You can't use her. We're going to make a film with her."
Yeah. Okay.
And so goes CW getting screwed over. However, they are in talks currently to try and get some of the Suicide Squad members back. I think the big strange one for me out of the Suicide Squad, one of the characters that's missing, is going to be Deathstroke. Although not always a member of the Suicide Squad, he has been in and out of the team regularly. And he's a character that DC definitely want to push forward.
Yeah.
Well, season 2 of Arrow, Deathstroke. For me, I thought he was brilliant.
I'm given quite a big role in Injustice.
Yeah, the game. Yeah. He was he was one of the main characters, wasn't he? Really.
Yeah. He appears quite often on Teen Titans cartoon. Then again, he is one of the main Teen Titans villains.
Yeah.
So it just seems like DC pushed him and they've left him out.
See, I'm learning from you guys because, I mean, this is out of my league at the moment. Until I've actually sat down and done some really good reading and research on them, I don't really know to comment on them. So I'm just listening to you. No, it's the only way you learn, though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing we can all agree on, or at least I hope we can all agree on, is Jared Leto looks like he's going to be the bomb as the Joker.
He does. He looks like he's going to make a bossing job. Does anybody know anything about Scott Eastwood and what he's being rumoured to be playing as?
No.
two main rumors
Well-
obviously have been Nightwing, undercover, watching the Suicide Squad Team 4 Batman. And I'm sure I read somewhere that the tattoo on his arm matches that of the Red Arrow,
Ah.
which would be another case of DC introducing a character before they've introduced any backstory or any other characters or any setup.
Yeah, something they're very good at.
They just sort of shoehorn it in like, oh, everybody knows who they are. Get on with it. It's not good.
Current predictions, however, have the film down as making an estimated profit there of 900 million. That's
Bloody hell,
box office, I
big
think.
estimation.
That's what they're looking for. Well, we'll move on to Doctor Strange in a minute, which is when I'll probably take a back seat because I don't know much about the character.
No, I don't
However,
know
you-
much about him either.
But you look at the
So,
two
okay.
films, you're looking at Doctor Strange, who what would you say probably is X-list character? He's not quite Z-list. Like, I know his name. Unlike Guardians of the Galaxy, who before the film, I only kind of half knew of Rocket Raccoon.
That's what I just associated him with, just having a furry raccoon in him. I didn't know anything else about him that spoke. That was it. That's all I knew.
I was reading up on Suicide Squad, just about Scott Eastwood, but there's no. He's given the information. He's basically just a soldier. But there are theories flying around that, like you've said, is he's working for Batman as Dick Grayson's Nightwing to watch Amanda Waller.
I just feel he's particularly too big of a name to be coming in to play Goon number 3.
Yeah, well, he's the leader of the team, and he's the squad or whatever it is. Not the Suicide Squad, the Army Squad,
Well,
whatever they are.
The best he can hope for would be Rick Flagg's right-hand man.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, you'll have
Did
to
you say
elaborate
Rick?
on that one for me.
I'm
I,
gonna
I
have
was.
to read
I
up.
went back to like Walking Dead. Then I was like, Rick,
Yeah, I was
Carl, Carl,
Carl.
stop the Joker, Carl. Rick Flag is effectively a member of Argus. He's the one
I know that.
non-villain.
Yeah,
In the trailer, when you see Harley Quinn smash the window and takes the handbag,
yeah.
the guy who turns around and gives her the dodgy look, that's Rick Flag.
Okay. I'm sure once I've probably like read up a bit more about it and probably seen the film and that as well, it probably all sort of like become something I'll be obsessed about and probably be wanting to know more about where people have come from and why they are there.
One current comic that I would say is definitely worth reading, at least from the new 52 era, so going back about 4 years or so. The Harley Quinn solo comic I really thought would suck, and it's really, really good.
I knew that was coming.
Well, we need to
Hey, that's not all that's coming.
Come on.
Oh, dear.
He's in the kitchen. I can't see what he's doing.
I'd be worried.
Well, it's definitely not the dishes.
If you hear by the way, if you hear another laugh from this side, it's the wife. She's sitting here listening in at the moment.
Give her a headset.
Hi.
Hi, Liz.
You all right?
Right, so guys,
Afternoon.
this is Lizzie. This is Lizzie, the wife, and I've got
Hello.
Rich.
Hello.
Say hi.
Hello, Rich.
And then you got Sophia on the other one as well.
Hey.
The other one,
Hi.
thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Hey, Liz.
I mean, well, we all know who you are.
Yeah, true.
Sorry about that. It was just to clear that up. If you keep hearing someone sort of giggling in the background,
You're about me with women.
maybe. Right.
So what's everyone's
what-
predictions then with Suicide Squad? Is it going to be good or not?
I hope it is.
I've got high hopes for it. I really have. But there's
Yes, I
couple
just
of
don't want
things-
Will Smith to let it down.
there's a couple of things that could really, really screw it up. And one of them is Will Smith. And I think everybody knows what my second one is if Harley does not say pudding anywhere in this film, I'm not going to be happy. I really aren't. And if the accent's wrong, I'm not going to be happy.
No,
I think
see,
the
it's not
accent you're going to
knowing
be a little bit disappointed on.
I know. I've heard her speak.
See, until I actually hear it and watch it properly, I can't really predict much. I mean, I'm a little bit apprehensive with Jared Leto, I will be honest. only because I have got my favourite Joker, and I can't get that out anywhere really. I think it's going to do well. I just hope it impresses me. For not knowing a lot about Suicide Squad itself, I just hope it's going to actually kick the bug in, that it's going to make me want to learn more about it rather than sit there and go, what am I watching?
I think the
So there's
pressure
my-
is they've got Batman in it. They've shown him in the trailer. They've
Yeah.
got Joker, who is, I'd say, probably the, if not one of the biggest villains of any media.
Yeah,
Not even just like Marvel and DC. If you think of any sort of bad guy, like in any sort of film or book or anything,
yeah,
Joker's going to be up there.
definitely.
They've got, what's her name, Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn, who since Wolf of Wall Street, her career seems to have taken off pretty quick.
Yeah,
They've got a lot of pressure riding on this. And if it flops, where do they go from there? They said Batman vs. Superman was amazing. They said they had a standing ovation when they first showed it to the CEOs. Well,
No.
I didn't see no one standing in the view when we watched it, unless they were
Yeah.
trying to get out.
yeah,
So from one end of the spectrum to the other, Doctor Strange, we said that Suicide Squad, they're looking at 900 million, they're looking at massive profit, the biggest DC film, for it to be counted probably as a success. You look at Doctor Strange, what if that makes 500? That's a big success. That would be more than Thor 2. Makes 600, that would put it higher than The Winter Soldier. 601 million was what Guardians of the Galaxy made, which of course was massive.
yeah.
However, I know absolutely zero of the character other than he is magic.
Yeah, that's all I know. So, John, can you enlighten us on that one? Or
He's, well, magic, that's pretty much sums up. He trains in the arts of magic. But it's not so much him. He has amulets and crystals that give him the power. I can't remember what the actual is called. And basically he fights demons from other dimensions, and he also has an arch rival. What's his name? Baron Mordo, I think he's called. Who's again? They train together, but he's the equivalent of going off on the evil side of things, and he forms a relationship with a demon called Dormammu. I don't know what the story is actually set for, whether they're going to introduce. They'll have Baron Mordo, but I don't know if they'll have the Dormammu.
Are they doing the entire backstory with Doctor
Yes,
Strange?
it's the origin story of
So
Doctor Strange.
it is the origin story.
so we are actually going to learn something from this.
Oh
and
yeah, it'll all be explained.
So can I just ask, it might sound a really silly question, is Doctor Strange a good guy or a bad one? Or is he a bit of in between? Is he a bit of in between?
He's not particularly a superhero.
I don't think you're going to be particularly like him, though, to be honest. He's not built to like he's egotistical from what I'm just trying to
Yeah, he's very
conceited.
arrogant.
Yeah.
He's very full of himself. He knows he's powerful, but he also knows there are a lot more things out there that are more powerful than he is. He teams up with Spiderman quite a lot in the comics and the cartoons, but that's usually when certain characters cross over. There's Dormammu being one if he breaks through the portals or realms.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not really much to know. I don't know much myself. I've never really read much about him.
So he gets his powers because he's a surgeon.
He's got amulets. Yeah.
So he goes and he gets in a car accident or something, and it injures his hands, and he can't heal his hands. So that's what he basically goes on a search for, and ends up with these amulet things.
Yeah, he gets all his powers from amulets or crystals that he can't. Without them, he's got nothing. So he constantly wears them. I don't know if he'll fly in this. He can actually fly in the comics and the cartoons. Whether he will or not, I don't know. I haven't
Is it a
looked up
proper
on much of
flight,
the
or is it
film.
more of a hover?
It's more of a hover. He can levitate, but he can raise himself, and he can. It's not a Superman flight.
if they're not flying, it's just no go.
Spider-Man doesn't fly.
So you have to be flying, is it?
Yeah, that's why my favourite characters are Nightwing and Batman, because of course their power of flight is well known. Or is that falling with style, to quote Toy Story?
What's like you?
Realistically, I think it's a Marvel movie. It's going to do well.
It'll be good because it's going to be people. Oh yeah, it's Marvel. We don't know much. Like Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy worked. Well, again, characters.
This in Spider-Man. Do you reckon that they could actually tie it in?
Potential. I don't think they'll tie it in with the new one, but it's got potential for the future.
Because I mean, that's one of our little things here, isn't it, about Spider-Man and that, and what we think about that.
There's a comic series called Secret War.
Yeah.
Where there's a character. I don't know about the comic. I know the cartoon more than the comic side of it. There's a character called Beyonder, and basically they get teleported to another planet. He does it for fun. He puts a load of villains against a load of heroes, and Doctor Strange is one of them. The Secret War series is very good, actually.
I'll have to have a look at it.
Like Spider-Man is basically from one of the original ones. Spider-Man's basically the team leader, effectively, and he has to choose heroes from the Marvel universe that he wants.
Which Spider-Man are we talking? Peter Parker or Miles?
Yeah, Peter Parker. No, Peter Parker. I'm talking like well over 15, 16 years ago.
Right.
But he has to choose a team of heroes to fight against a team of villains that Beyonder's chosen. Again, the Beyonder's just an omnipotent, all-powerful being. He's not evil, he's not good, he just gets bored.
Fair enough. I think that would be me as well. I'll just get bored and just do what I want.
I thought you meant while watching the film.
No, not while watching the film. It's just if I had the ability to be a superhero, I think that would be just my ability, just to do what I want, just to annoy everybody.
I think you'd have to be unmarried for that, Ash.
I still do the same thing here. That's my superpower here, is just to annoy.
I like how she agrees.
I like how Sophie's decided to go quiet instead of dropping me in on that one.
Oh.
She wouldn't do that.
No, not at all.
Be a nice wife if you want.
Well, from what you've just said about Doctor Strange, I'm actually quite looking forward to it now. So if you actually do explain a lot more about him, then it would probably be something I'd be more interested in.
I mean, so it's a difference. It'll be interesting to see what they do because obviously he's the first sort of magical character in the Marvel universe they've done anything about. So, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, nobody knew very little unless you did research on it. And them films were incredibly successful.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favourite Marvel films they've ever made.
I enjoy that film. I mean, I must admit, if there's anything I want to put on the television and there's nothing on, it always sort of goes down to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah. But then I think it's because they've got the kind of free reign where there's not that much knowledge. There's not that many people who know about it. I mean, the Guardians of the Galaxy teamed up with Avengers occasionally, but nothing major.
No, they're on a league of their own, aren't they, really?
Yeah. Well, they are effectively the intergalactic Avengers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hence the name.
So with the predictions of Doctor Strange, then what would we reckon then?
Critically, I think it's going to do well.
I think it will.
Yeah, because I don't think enough people know enough about it. Again, I think it's like the Deadpool and the Ant-Man theory that, like John said, they've got free reign over what they do. So yeah, I think it's got the potential to be really popular.
Especially with Benedict Cumberbatch. I do like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I like that as well.
I'm not a fan of him.
Aren't you?
I don't have an issue with him, don't get me wrong. I don't have an issue with him, don't get me wrong. Just when I read a lot online, when he was first announced, and for a long time before they announced him, he was like the fan casting. It's like, oh, I'm going to watch this film and Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. Oh, if he's not in it, I'm not watching it. I'm going to boycott it.
Yeah, but you get that with people who like Hugh Jackman. Oh, I won't watch any X-Men film if it's not got Hugh Jackman in it.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is Benedict Cumberbatch ain't no Ben Affleck, is he?
Who you anticipated to be the worst Batman ever before the film came out.
Incorrect. I love the Daredevil film, so why would I hate him as Batman?
I thought you said you didn't like Ben Affleck.
One of the 6 people that still loves Daredevil.
Daredevil's one of the best films they ever made. One of the original films they ever made.
Yeah, I liked it as well.
I think it worked because they didn't carry on with sequels like they did with the Spider-Man.
Well, what I'll have to do then is I'll have to send out your 2 membership cards and you can join me and the other 6. So, from Doctor Strange, I think we're slightly more excited now.
Yes.
Character, obviously, we don't know much about. How about character we know quite a lot about? Spider-Man movie. Do we need a 3rd Spider-Man franchise?
No.
No.
No, I've had enough
Yeah,
of Spider-Man and all the different Spider-Mans there is. I've had enough.
Given Civil War, yes.
Yeah.
I want to see another Spider-Man
Do
film,
you
especially
really?
with Tom Holland.
Do you
Tom
really?
Holland was amazing in Spider-Man. In Civil War, sorry.
Yeah, he was good. Just leave him there.
I loved it because it was like I was being a kid again, like watching the Spider-Man then.
Yeah, it was brilliant in the film, but I don't need to see any more of him. Those little cameo bits that he did, he's a good character and a good actor that's playing him, but I don't need another goddamn Spider-Man movie to tell me that he's a good
Spider-Man movie.
I don't need it to tell me that he's a good superhero. I don't need another one. He's young and he's funny, and I don't think I need a film to tell me that. I don't want another origin film of fucking Spider-Man.
How
many times are they going to kill Uncle Ben?
I know, poor Uncle Ben.
Well, this is the 3rd time.
Yeah, poor Uncle Ben. Leave him alone. But then again, if he didn't kill Uncle Ben, we wouldn't have Spider-Man, would we? In that sense.
I don't know. We still get bitten by a spider.
Yeah, well, but what I'm saying is
Would he?
It would be a completely different Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, he would.
He may have become a villain.
Yeah.
He may still be wrestling Macho Man Randy Savage like he was in the first Sam Raimi movie.
rest in peace, man. I can't even speak, Macho Man. But yeah, I echo.
The only thing that annoys me is that Aunt May seems to be getting younger.
That annoys you, does it, John?
Oh, only because there's like in the comics and in the cartoons, even in the first Spider-Man film, Aunt May was old, and Spider-Man's got younger, but so's Aunt May. And we're not talking like a couple of years; it's a good 20 years difference. And Spider-Man's only about 2-3 years younger.
Maybe that could be Channing Tatum's superhero role. He really wants to be in a superhero film. Maybe he could be Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get to see Channing Tatum die. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a bit extreme. So anyway, whether we want it or not, we're going to get it. So
Okay, I'll go.
who do you want to be the villain? Who do you want to be Spider-Man's villain in this film? Who's going to be the main baddie? We're going to get Green Goblin the 4th? Are we going to get
No.
Dr. Octopus the 2nd?
I think we need someone that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
A decent Venom.
We don't need Venom. You can't jump straight in with the best story. Where do you go from there?
Carnage.
Yeah, you got Carnage.
Well, the big rumour is that they've cast Carnage for this film already, which means for the first time yet, Marvel are doing a DC. They're going to throw a character in without any back. You're going to get a film with Carnage before Venom exists.
Which is impossible because Carnage is Venom's offspring.
Yeah, so it's round the wrong way then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. They can't do Carnage. I'll be annoyed if they do Carnage. Really annoyed.
I can feel your fury.
Oh yeah, no, it just annoys me how they twist. Like they just do it for the sake of it. It's like if you're going to do it, at least do Venom first, and then at the end of the film, if you want, see Carnage separate from Venom, and then find like at the end of the film him attached to Butch Cassidy. That's if you want to do it that way. I'm very passionate about Spider-Man and the villains.
Yeah,
I would like to see a Vulture though. Really would.
or Jackal.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah,
Jackal.
Jackal's he's not a very well known one.
Yeah, but something different.
I still think
Oh,
they should have a
yeah.
Rhino.
Rhino,
I still
I would
think
love a Rhino.
They should do a proper Rhino rather
Well,
than a machine.
That's what annoyed me with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought Electro was fantastic.
Yeah,
And then at the end of the film, they put a Rhino in there. Like the last scene is Spider-Man fighting Rhino and nothing.
Yeah.
So what's the point in doing that kind of build-up?
But Rhino wasn't
do anything. Else?
Yeah, but
Because
Rhino
Sony
wasn't...
didn't realise they were releasing a turd.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed Andrew Garfield. I thought Andrew Garfield was a really good
I thought
Spider-Man.
he was really good at that actually.
Brilliant Spider-Man, terrible Peter Parker. Peter Parker, he's geeky, he's nerdy, he's a loser. Suddenly he gets all these powers, and yet he can't do what he wants because then people will be suspicious. With Andrew Garfield, we got the cool, skateboarding, popular, not really nerdy. Let's put it this way, he's not the sort of guy that would go to prom on his own. Whereas, let's face it, Tobey Maguire will be on his own forever.
Well, that's the thing, like, with Tobey Maguire, he was the Peter Parker we all knew of being bullied, being beaten up, being, he's nobody. Well, Spider-Man 3. But Andrew Garfield wasn't, like, nobody likes Peter Parker. Even, like, just the normal people, they don't acknowledge him. Whereas Andrew Garfield suddenly, like you say, popular, and it didn't really make sense. But I did like how they touched on Gwen Stacy instead of Mary Jane. That's far better.
Yeah.
Because Gwen Stacy
in Amazing Spider-Man 2,
yes,
when Gwen Stacy dies,
yes,
there's two ways you read into it. Did she die because of the fall anyway?
Yeah.
Or did she die because of the way how Spider-Man caught her?
The way
He catches that web, her neck flies back, she breaks her neck. So is it Spider-Man that's the killer there, or?
Yeah, he's the killer, but he doesn't mean to kill her. He was trying to save her.
O.J. Simpson didn't mean it when he killed someone.
God's sake.
Oh dear. No, I mean, it's like, I don't know, because Gwen Stacy isn't in the comics for long, which is what I liked. I did like that they did kill her off.
How about this for a pitch then? Spider-Man movie. He gets trained by Kraven the Hunter.
What?
You get to see Kraven almost be a mentor to him as far as helping him with his powers. I'm going a little bit Harrison Wells' Flash season 1 before revealing that obviously Kraven's not particularly a good guy.
I'm gonna say Kraven's a villain.
Yeah, but
go on then, carry on.
You can help numerous.
See where you go.
I was just saying, as far as that is a way of getting him in it. So effectively, instead of having a film when it's just Spider-Man fighting someone the whole way through, it's a film of Spider-Man being trained up. It's a film of Spider-Man getting used to his powers.
No, that'd be a bit boring.
No.
Then being betrayed.
Spider-Man doesn't get trained. That's the point.
He trains himself.
Spider-Man learns. He learns as he goes on. That's what made the Spider-Man so likable. Was he is clumsy. He makes stupid mistakes. He is arrogant when he's in the costume, which is always his downfall as well. He's just trying to turn him into a Batman.
Batman trains everyone. And talking of arrogance, as far as in the Spider-Man film confirmed, is that we're going to get Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans reprising the roles of Iron Man and Captain America in it.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's going to be the first time they're both going to be on screen. Maybe at the same time, maybe not, since, of course, the Civil War. Is this going to be the first thing that Marvel get horrifically wrong? Is this going to be the first thing in their universe in which they set up this massive battle to have them do a Martha moment and shake hands and be best friends?
See, like with the one thing that did annoy me with the Spider-Man and the Civil War was by the time Tony Stark met Peter Parker, or Spider-Man, Spider-Man was already a well-established hero. So, like, Tony Stark went to Peter Parker way too early in Spider-Man's timeline.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there.
Like, Tony Stark approached Spider-Man in the Civil War comic, but Spider-Man had been around for years before that. And then he said, like, you know, come to our side, I'll make you a suit, which he did. Okay, they did make him a suit. It wasn't the right suit, but they still made him a suit. Then obviously it's all went. It's no. If you're gonna, like, you could do an Iron Spider-Man film, but not until Spider-Man's already been established as who Spider-Man is.
Yeah.
Like in the Civil War film, Spider-Man didn't even know who Spider-Man was, really. He was still got that crappy costume. He'd got the goggles. Underoos, exactly. Which me and Rich actually researched, and we found out what it was because it annoyed me. It turns out it's underwear from the 70s and 80s. We used to go
it was superhero themed.
Yeah, it was. Superhero themed underclothes. Basically, that you wore. Yeah.
Like one of those ones when you have like the buttons at the back for toilet time.
Yeah.
Oh, they sound sexy.
It was effectively a very early onesie.
Yeah.
Like, more in the style of a swimsuit. But yeah, that's, like I say, that's one thing that annoyed me with Civil War. And if Spider-Man, if Tony Stark and Captain and Chris Evans are in it, it's going to ruin it.
Well, they're guaranteed to be in it. It was part of the original contract that got leaked, that Sony had put forward to Marvel to allow Marvel to use Spider-Man. They would have to get two characters in the Spider-Man film.
Oh, I don't like it already.
Because technically Spider-Man's still a Sony property.
Yeah, but they just wanted to put big names in it again.
For that, didn't they? Did they not lose the battle for Spider-Man?
No, they've still got it. They've done a deal with Marvel in which Marvel get to make the films. However, Sony still effectively work as part of it. Yeah, they get the film rights to it. They deal with the distribution side of things and so on.
So
in other words, they still make the money while someone else does the work.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was about to say. So they live off the royalties of a bigger film, basically, or bigger names. Yeah.
While at the same time rumoured to be making a Sinister Six movie, which will be set in a different universe to that of Tom Holland's Spider-Man and be set in the same universe as Andrew Garfield's defunct old Spider-Man.
Oh, it's going to hurt my head. It's like, why,
I hate all these split universe things because I get so lost.
It's like McAvoy and Stewart all over again.
Oh, don't.
Yeah. So, are they going to make a third Andrew Garfield film then?
No.
Andrew Garfield.
So they're going to cast another Spider-Man?
No, there'll be no more Spider-Man. The Sinister Six movie will effectively work like the Suicide Squad movie.
God's sake.
It will be a film about the villain team having to fight a bigger villain because, of course, they own the rights to some pretty big characters still.
Yeah, but again, like the Sinister Six. The Sinister Six is put together by the Kingpin.
Who Marvel owns, so they can't use them.
Which consists of Dr. Octopus, the Vulture, Chameleon, Shocker, Rhino, and they have to go and get... they have Electro as well. And then they bring... Because basically Red Skull and Captain America are locked in a time freeze kind of thing.
Good, leave them there.
Well, basically, they pull out. They try to pull out the Red Skull, and they end up bringing Captain America through as well. So Spider-Man teams up with Captain America, and Captain America's original team from when he was. They basically made. I think there were 4 or 5 other super soldiers. They were never as good as Captain America, but they had abilities. That's basically the story, and then they fight. But no, they're just copying Suicide Squad, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like.
Which is good because they're copying a film that may or may not be successful.
Yeah, but it's just the concept of it.
Yeah, but it's also the concept of let's copy this film that may be a massive flop. Like you can imagine at some point when Marvel were starting off their cinematic universe, they went, let's make a film that's just like the Green Lantern movie. That's guaranteed to be a hit.
Yeah. I suppose maybe they might, if Suicide Squad's a flop, they might drop any idea of the Sinister Six. Well,
Since Suicide Squad's popped back up, let's use that as the segue into our final topic before we reach our hour mark.
How long it takes to have a poo? You're not eating enough veg, John.
I eat plenty of veg. Hey, your husband takes a paper to the toilet.
Yeah,
So
don't
it's
forget-
too fun at work.
So does your 2-year-old son.
The problem is he takes the toilet everywhere with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich is jealous. You would take the toilet anywhere with you.
You can get man nappies now.
He
Don't tell him
knows.
that. Don't tell him that. He's really
I feel
trying
like
to wear
at some
one of
point,
Harvey's.
Not yet.
at some point, we need to meet up and do either a DC or a Marvel marathon, all in our man nappies.
Oh.
No toilet breaks. Just go.
Well,
So you won't drop a deuce.
Yeah.
given how you were letting rip the other night, I'd be careful of not filling it.
Well, talking of dropping a deuce. Batman vs Superman, bit of a flop.
Terrible.
A lot of
film.
pressure, a lot of build-up,
Well, not terrible.
a lot of confusion.
Say that
I
back.
enjoyed it.
It
I enjoyed it
okay
as
as a film.
I finally get to see Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman on the big screen together.
It was a mediocre film. You walked out of the cinema just like, yeah, it was alright. Am I bothered about seeing it again? Probably not.
Pretty sure I pre-ordered the Blu-ray when we walked out. But
Yeah, I know,
agree
and
with
it's
you.
coming sometime this week.
I waited till I could get it up on what I've got here as a program. I didn't waste my money and go and see it. I let my brother-in-law do that, and then he told me about it, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to bother wasting my money going. So, I mean, I think with Batman versus Superman, I think that it was trying to cram everything into one film in such a short time. And it was
wasn't
just
a short
like,
time. It was 3 hours long.
well, you know what I mean. It could have been split. It could have been split and have two-parter. I mean, the thing is, as well, with Ben Affleck filling the shoes off and the cape of Batman himself, I think that maybe what they should have done with Ben Affleck is so that he could get into his role a bit more, is maybe have done a solo film first with him before it goes into a bigger storyline of Batman versus Superman. I mean, I think that's what kind of sort of didn't really go right with me. It was like, he was trying to fill too big of shoes too soon instead of working into the role. And I mean, I didn't get on with Man of Steel anyway. I didn't like that film. I mean, I watched it, and I just.
So I enjoyed Man of Steel. It was definitely the best Superman film they'd ever made. Not that they've got much to go off, but
Did anyone see
five
both
of the films?
I was going to say, did anyone see actually on the Man of Steel the point where Lois Lane's taken up to the spacecraft? The actual reference to Batman within that part.
what was
As
that?
the doors are closing behind the shuttle as it goes in within the actual main spacecraft itself, it actually does the symbol of Batman. Have a watch it and see, because I noticed it and I had to replay it again to see if it was just my eyes. But it does actually shut in the same sort of pattern as Batman's symbol. I just thought I'd put that out there. Sorry.
No, I'll have to go back and look at that.
Well, I think the idea of the Man of Steel, when they've got obviously the spaceship in space, I think that might develop the Watchtower. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
Batman in space. Sounds like a really cheesy 70s sci-fi film.
Yeah, where's Adam West?
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't go that way with Adam West, to be honest with you. So,
Well, off the back of that, DC or Warner Brothers, more to the point, are kind of looking at the Marvel, I suppose, the Marvel structure, the way they've been making their films. So Warner Brothers now, instead of being the ones that are just generally having their own directors, different people, different CEOs, different producers, all having their say in it, which I think we'd all agree as far as with Batman vs Superman, it felt very muddled. It felt like it was Man of Steel 2, while at the same time being Batman 1, while being at the same time Batman vs Superman, the Doomsday Death of
That's what I was trying to say earlier on. It just seemed that it was
Superman
trying too hard. Yeah, it was trying too hard to be everything. It was just too much. All at once, trying to fit into. They could have spread it a bit more, used it a bit more wisely, so to speak. But the other thing is just the transition from everybody that is a Batman fan. The transition between Christian Bale and Ben Affleck. I mean, it's that transition between the two, because everyone's going to be going in I would have been, expecting a Christian Bale on the screen, but it'd be Ben Affleck. So then your mind's already made up already. As soon as you hear Ben Affleck, no, he's not going to be able to do as good as Christian Bale, or the other one that's my favourite Batman of all time is Michael Keaton. It's difficult when there's so many different people playing the same role of trying to get that through. With it's just the transition between the two. It's just difficult to do because Dark Knight Rises was the last one.
Yeah.
With that being the last one, and then we suddenly get Batman versus Superman with a completely different Bruce Wayne, with a completely different actor, and it's like it kind of it was like the original Batman franchise. When it went from Michael Keaton to George Clooney within one of them, as well as what was the
Val Kilmer in between.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, it is too many people trying to play the same role, and it's difficult. And like I say, with Ben Affleck, I think he was just he seemed like he was a deer in the headlights, as to say, wow, this is a massive role that I've got to try and fill. There's going to be a lot of people watching me, because obviously Batman, if you name any character, again, like we said earlier on, if you name any character, the first thought you're going to feel is he's going to be Batman, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because it is the most pushed up front franchise there is, and there's been a lot of money made from that franchise. So I think that's what got me mainly about it was the fact that it was just too much trying to squeeze into too little time, when they could have really played it out a little bit longer and possibly have actually explained a bit more of the storyline of the reason why, instead of having it 1 minute you've got just Batman and Superman, suddenly there's Wonder Woman, and then there's Aquaman, and then there was a flash image of Flash, and it was just like, geez, what's going on now? It just left me completely sort of sat there and bemused. Which they're trying to bring it all in too soon.
Hopefully moving forward, they're giving control to Jeff Johns, who's probably one of the best comic book writers DC have ever had.
I've read a lot of recently, to be honest, since you mentioned him, and I was like, hopefully he can take the reins and actually sort it out and say, look, we need to slow it down slightly, and actually bring in not origin stories, because we all know the origins, you know what I mean, but just maybe inductions is a little bit sort of slower, so that we get used to them being there, instead of it just being like whack, have it in your face, and then you're like, oh, well, what do I do with that now?
It's very hard to connect to a character when they just throw it in your face like that. You don't feel any, you want to say, emotional attachment to him. You're not really bothered what happens to him because you don't know anything about him. It's just another guy playing another character.
Yeah, whereas I'm just a dude playing a guy playing another guy.
But it is, and it's like, how can you have any connection with this person? Well, this character that you don't know anything about. You don't know what sort of backstory this Bruce Wayne's got.
Let's put it this way: it shows that Robin costume. It shows that there's clearly a dead Robin by the looks of it. It's got the Joker putting jokes on you writing across the chest of the costume.
Yeah.
Which Robin is that? When did that Robin die? Is that Robin even actually dead?
There's too much. Like I said, there's too much going on, and it's like there's questions that are left completely unanswered. And it's just like, I mean, okay, you've got Negan and Maggie from Walking Dead as Bruce Wayne's parents. It's a bit kind of like, hey, why? you know, yeah. For me,
I think it
mean,
raises more questions than it does answers. So you are wondering more. Like Rich was saying, you don't know what that Robin was when he died and things like that. It raises more questions. So you're pondering on the other things whilst you're trying to watch this film, thinking, "Am I going to find out the answers to this in a bit?" And the answer's no. You just
get the feeling that these are a lot of ideas, that there's a boardroom and there's been a lot of people sat around a table, and not in just one meeting, they've done it over multiple meetings, over multiple years. And it's just they've got a whiteboard and someone throws an idea, dead Robin, put it on the board. And then they move on, and then someone goes, how about we get Doomsday? Throw it on the board. Let's get that one in there. Wonder Woman, yeah, cameo for the Aquaman. Get that up there. And it just needs that person to be able to sit down, take all these ideas and say no.
Just take one or a couple of these ideas. Don't go, oh, that's a cool idea. Yeah, we'll put that in somewhere. And we'll put another bit of it in. We'll fit it in somewhere. It'll do. It's just a bunch of half-arsed ideas that don't go anywhere.
Well, a good thing that Jeff Johns is apparently trying to bring in. Vulture have reported that Jeff Johns has said that hope and optimism is going to be part of the DC film world. And let's not ignore the fact that both Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, most of its criticism came from how dark it was, how it was. They weren't particularly fun films to watch. And I know that Batman is obviously a darker character, but when you've got the likes of Superman in there and the likes of Wonder Woman, and there needs to be that kind of little bit of an uplifting tale to it in some way. And I think that if Johns is reportedly bringing that in, then I'm all aboard, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I am as well.
I like, they made a Flash series. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favourite DC characters. But then they show you, if you haven't watched the Flash series, it's probably okay because you get a glimpse of the Flash in Batman vs Superman. But for those who have, I like the Barry Allen we've got.
Yeah, I do.
And they're going to end up recasting him because they're not going to use the one from the series.
But tying in with that, though, you say that you like Flash, and Arrow's all right. It's not as good. It up to season 2 was really good. 3 was pretty terrible, and 4 is on its way to maybe being good again.
I don't know.
It doesn't end great,
but then maybe because we've only had 2 series of Flash.
And Jeff Johns is the guy that got all of this CW world up and running, so we know he can build a universe. He can build characters. Obviously, you get so much more screen time in a series than you will in a film.
You get more attached to a character as well, though.
But for me in CW, none of the characters that are in it ever felt forced. Like Wally West comes in season 2, and it doesn't feel like we need to get Wally West in. It felt like they slowly let his character build, develop, and then moving forward, we'll see what comes. And I think with the films, that's exactly what we need. We need to see a bit of Aquaman. We need to see his character develop, build, become something bigger. Going back to when we were talking about Spider-Man, I think maybe that's what's needed there. And I feel that a solo film's not what we need of Spider-Man because it's going to be throwing him in our face. And the characters that worked for me, that I've been surprised worked for me in the Marvel universe, and I hope DC can get this right with some of the secondary characters. Someone like Black Widow, I don't care about in the comics. I don't care about in the cartoons. I don't care about at all. But the films have made her start stealing it because she's just there building slowly so much backstory that in Civil War, I really cared about her character.
Yeah.
And Jeff Johns is good at doing that with the series. He's excellent at doing that with the comics. He understands the comics. He understands the fans. We had Goya working on these films before, and he once said that hands up anyone in the room who knows who Martian Manhunter is. A load of hands went up this at Comic-Con. Said, hands up out of you guys with your hands up now, who actually got laid or who's ever touched a woman, I think he said. And that shows the sort of people that Warner Brothers were employing. People that don't know comic books. They think that you read a comic book, you're a fucking nerd, and I'm going to sell this product to you because you're a sheep.
Yeah.
And hopefully with Jeff Johns, they're going to have someone who actually appreciates the characters, appreciates the comic book lore, appreciates what we want in a film, while not just trying to rip off Marvel.
It's almost like with the cartoons and the comics and even the series, they make the characters relatable in a way, or you appreciate them, or you can understand what they're going through, you can empathize, you like them. Whereas in a film, you don't get that so much. But like with Guardians of the Galaxy, you do get that. Like Groot, you know nothing about Groot at all, but the minute you think he's dead, it's like it's all over.
Well, let's say if films continued when they stop, and Batman vs Superman, obviously that stopped. If that universe was a real universe and that's continuing now, hands up anyone who cares what Wonder Woman is actually doing right now. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy, personally, when I'm waiting for this next film, I really want to know what Star-Lord and Rocket have been up to. I want to know what's going on. Are they still working as a team? Are they trying to get back to Earth? Are they trying to find any of the stones or anything like that? I really want to know, what are they doing? Do I care about any of the characters in Batman vs Superman? Not particularly, no. I want to know what Alfred's up to, in fairness. I really liked Alfred.
It's like with Superman, that's supposed to be a big dramatic ending that Superman's dead. It's like, I couldn't care less. Because that to me, there was no reason for that in it, other than to get Batman to form the Justice League. But that isn't why he formed the Justice League, is it?
No. Well, he doesn't form it. He doesn't really want to be part of it.
Well, no, he do. They make their own Justice League, don't they? They want to recruit him, but he obviously keeps turning it down.
And he decides that the best way of knowing how to beat them is if he joins them.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've gone past the hour mark.
Oh, okay.
And I think when it comes to getting this recorded and put on YouTube, and I'm sure if anyone is listening, they're going to be thankful that they can stop listening anytime soon. So I think that's a good time for us to wrap up the podcast itself.
Yeah.
Next time we come back and do this, hopefully Ben will be with us. There's Ben's shout out, because that's what he's asked for. I suppose I better say this in case it does go on YouTube. If you've listened to this and liked it and want to hear any more, hit like and subscribe below, I believe, is where it is on YouTube. Unless you're watching it on your phone, in which case, do something with it.
You can still do that, I think. You can still subscribe on your phone.
There we go then. So even if you're on a phone, you haven't got an excuse. Subscribe, listen, like it.